Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
I'm going to give the ridiculous a little bit of air today. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to give any air to the ridiculous. Man, there is this underbelly of just trash. And, I go after Dan Bongino regularly, and I want to tell you about Rumble. We've been building a case against Rumble specifically. So I plan on sending something out to the CEO of Rumble, who, by the way, announced that Dan Bongino is exclusive on Rumble. Well, he's one of the largest shareholders of Rumble. Be kind of weird if you couldn't create a exclusive with Dan Bongino on Rumble. But my concerns actually lie with this this group of mean girls, this high school banter that we get. And we have people that literally, I call them basement dwellers, that attack those people that are doing the hard work, that literally have put themselves on the line. And one of those guys is this guy that has this thing called The Bigger Truth. And you know when someone comes out and says something that they are the bigger truth, that they are just perpetual sniveling little liars. So I'm gonna read this open letter to Tina Peters. Now, Tina Peters happened to get on a call this morning with one of the team members that works with Tina, and I'll start by saying this. This Scott guy wrote a letter to President Trump and wrote a letter to Tina Peters, and sent it to Tina. Took the time to send it to her in jail, and this is how you know specifically that, number one, he wrote the letter to President Trump using Grok, using AI. It took me, I just picked it up, dropped it into Teacheries and said, hey, was this written by AI? And the whole thing was written by AI. Now that's one. And number two, the other side is a letter he wrote to Tina Peters. So I'm gonna stop in the middle of this, guys, and I'm just going to, I'm gonna be a little petty before our guest comes on, and this is me telling you out there, it has nothing to do with this piece of trash that I'm talking about. Nothing. This has to do with a group of people who are doing everything they can to destroy people like Tina Peters while saying that they're on their side. They just make it up as they go along, and they make up not just the big details. They make up the small details as well. So, dear Tina, you subscribed to my Substack, Bigger Truth Media, for a month before your sentencing. So you may recall who I am. First of all, no, she doesn't recall who you are, and no, she didn't subscribe to your Substack. I'm writing because I want to help you, and because I believe you're being pushed down a path that ends with you staying in prison far longer than necessary. I'm going to be direct. The people most publicly advocating for you are actively damaging your legal position and using your case to inflame the country. If you want a realistic chance at freedom, you must take drastic action. Fire every attorney connected to the current network around your case and replace them with independent, conflict-free Colorado counsel. Okay, so just so we're clear, he has no idea who her counsel is. So first of all, Peter Tickton is the president's counsel and friend. And number two, the current group of attorneys that are working with Tina is a group of attorneys across the entire country that are mostly working pro bono. And there are no good attorneys that operate inside of Colorado. It doesn't exist. You may not realize how your imprisonment is being used for propaganda. Joe Oltmann recently said on his podcast, while wearing a Trump hat, violence is probably the only answer at this point. I think it's going to take somebody doing something very drastic, or a group of people doing something drastic, to let them know they have They don't have any peace. A couple minutes later, he added, how do we get Tina out? How do we get 20,000 people? Do we surround the house of Jared Polis? Do we literally shake down the walls around him? I think Jared Polis should be hung. I think Jenna Griswold should be hung. Okay, do we have that clip? All right, let's play it.
I want them to be tried for treason, tried for sedition, and if found guilty, I want them hung. Period. End stop. Stealing states, stealing the country, doing the things that they've done. It does not take a lot of time to actually fix these problems. But if we don't fix these problems, we have no country that we're going to be able to fix to begin with. That's my point.
Hey guys, where's my hat? Where's my Trump hat? Do you guys see a Trump hat? Anybody? Patrick, you see a Trump hat? Are you sure? Guys, I don't even have a Trump hat. It gets worse. It gets worse. Your attorney, Peter Tickton, went on Steve Bannon's War Room and demanded Trump send in the 82nd Airborne to break you out of prison, an act that would most likely lead to kinetic civil war. A few days later, he went on Oltmann's show to make an implicit threat against the judges who determine your fate, saying, I don't care if you're a judge, I don't care what you are. If you're a traitor to this country, you don't get excused just because you have a black robe on. Okay, do we have the Steve Bannon clip? Guys, you're not getting, find it for me. Because here's what happened. Steve Bannon said, I wish the 82nd Airborne would come in. And Peter Tickton said, I like that idea. But you can't tell the truth. If you can't tell the truth about the small things, we know that the bigger truth is just a bigger liar. Now, this guy's been running around the internet doing a lot of things. He's the same guy that he's got some problems. He's got some pedophilia problems that he probably needs to work through. He's got some issues with being charged for falsifying where he lives. He says that's all a mistake. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a person named Madison. What was her name? Madison? What was that woman's name? Madison. What was her last name? She said that she actually was out there fighting for what was right. That she's fighting for the trafficking of women and children. She said that. She would raise money on that. She would get out there, and I had her on the show, and I asked her a couple questions, and I finally told my co-host at the time, I was like, this woman is not, she's not being truthful. Well, that woman, Madison Marquette, that's it, Madison Marquette. That same woman has a $2 million bond, is wanted in 3 states for felonies, and her husband, common law husband, was a pedophile with an ankle bracelet. Go look it up. Go. If you think I'm kidding, go look it up. That's the type of people that get involved in and say that what I've done, or what Peter Tickton's doing, what the lawyers are doing. Now, I don't particularly think that it was a great display for John yesterday. I don't believe that he did a superb job, but I mean, I'm also not sitting in front of 3 judges. Like, I'm not sitting in front of 3 judges. I don't know what it would look like to sit on an appeals court and have to go through these questions. Now, I don't have the same fear factor as other people, but I think John Case did. He presented the evidence well, and the brief was written collectively, mostly by Peter Tickton and others. So, did they have missteps? Yes. Is that going to happen when you're trying to plead a case? Yes. I can promise you this, though. The attorneys for Tina did a much better job than the deputy attorney general, the assistant attorney general that showed up, who lied her face off and got caught over and over and over again trying to justify the actions of the attorney general's office, or even the actions of the DA specifically, and the judge in this case. So I think that John Case did a decent job, and I do believe, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on what happens there, but I do believe that that she will be, just like the other case, she will be vindicated, and that she'll get out. Now, he goes on to say this. Whew, Tina, those statements are not help. They're gasoline on the fire. They put pressure on courts, harden judges, and make you look like the symbol of defiance, not a defendant seeking lawful relief. The tragedy is that you would likely be free today if your legal strategy had focused on your defense and mitigation instead of serving a potential political media narrative. Your posture at sentencing, arguing, justifying, and signaling, you'd do it again, made a severe sentence predictable and justified. This piece of shit doesn't have any clue what we're up against. And to sit here and say that Tina Peters should fall on the sword and talk about her defense, there was over 40 motions that were denied. The judge yesterday clearly said that her affirmative defense was not allowed to be presented. And how do you take away someone's affirmative defense and then tell them inside the sentencing that it's about the fact that you breached the election equipment, which she wasn't charged for? So the judge was thoroughly confused. But more importantly, you got a guy here that he's the smartest guy in the room. This guy living in the basement of his mother's home is the smartest guy in the room. This is the problem that we have inside of our society now, is that we got a bunch of people, talking heads, that get out there. Brian Cates, same thing. I put up a post, very clearly stated, this is what I was told. I was told we were going to war, a week later, or a little over a week later. They go in, they pluck Maduro out while President Trump's eating Skittles. A leader of a sovereign country just goes in and picks him up, pulls him out. And then I get told, well, that's not war, Joe. That's not war. You're right. It's tea and crumpets. We talked about this yesterday with Vince. These are, sure, it was war-ish. I mean, how do you go into a sovereign nation and pluck out the leader? The guy that's the leader of that country that has an open alliance with Russia and China, and you go in and take him out there, and that's not war? No, I think we're in a perpetual state of an insurrection inside of our country. And it absolutely was designed. It was designed as a defense against the war that's been waged against the American people. Now, he goes on further, and then I'll get to our guest here. And now, your current appellant strategy is, in my view, headed for a dead end. I'm not writing this to discourage you. I'm writing you this because you still have options, but you cannot access them while you remain inside this legal and media machine. Here's what you need to understand about the money for the control over your case. Patrick Byrne and Mike Lindell have funded your legal defense. I recently found a video of Byrne admitting that he paid over $1 million for your defense and that you have had an attorney, Doug Richards, who was prepared, I believe, was your strongest legal line of defense. But Byrne caused you to fire him. And Lona raises questions that a judge would recognize were your lawyers representing you or the people paying them. You have no idea who Doug Richards is. But this does point to a different conclusion, and that is that there were attorneys that were representing Tina Peters that were ignoring the facts. And then you have this guy pops up his head. He's the bigger truth, though. He can't tell the truth about the smallest of details. And by the way, the legal brief that was written to the appellate court will not be unsuccessful. They will, at a minimum, send it back for resentencing. Inside of their signaling, they talked about the fact that the AG's office and the DA's office had made grave mistakes against Tina Peters, and that the judge in this case erred and had a constitutional crisis related to whether or not they were punishing her for her First Amendment views, which they did. Even more alarming, Byrne has now publicly described himself as extraordinary terms. He said in Emerald Robinson's show, and again with Alex Jones, he was a Tier 1 CIA asset under Obama. He admitted to telling lies. I fibbed, he said. And just a few hours before he went on Emerald's show, he posted on X, "Stay tuned, I've gotten permission to release something. Just let me prepare it," he claimed, and he has gone rogue. But does a rogue CIA assets wait for permission? The bottom line is this man publicly described himself as an intelligence asset who admitted he lied and should be steering the strategy that determines whether you live the rest of your life in prison. I've read the pardon Trump issued. Whoever tells you that you are a presidential pardon does not erase a state conviction. Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution applies to federal offenses. This guy doesn't actually have any idea because it doesn't say anything about federal offenses. It says of the United States of America, of which the state is a part of. So again, an unproven thing that hasn't gone through the Supreme Court, which we've seen that happen time and time again, does not mean that he does not have authority, number one. Relying on this as your path home is a setup for disappointment, and it pushes the country towards a dangerous state-right conflict that will not help you. So here's your only path. Fire your entire legal team. Step away from activism media network that's calling for military solutions and violence in your name. Yeah, okay. This is the piece of shit that says he's on our side. Okay, got it. Retain independent, Colorado-based, conflict-free criminal appellant post-conviction counsel with no ties to Byrne, Lindell, Oltmann, Tickton, or the broader operation. So basically, he wants you to separate yourself from President Trump. That sounds like a fun thing to do. Have the counsel evaluate based strictly on Colorado law and your record, whether there's a viable path through conflicted counsel, ineffective assistance at sentencing, or whether the court should order a limited remand or resentencing with conflict-free counsel. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm telling you what I believe is the truth. You're being used, and the people using you will not serve your sentence for you. I pray for you often. You are more friends than you realize, but you will not find them until you break free of the people treating your life like a political weapon. Respectfully, Scott McMahon. So I'm going to just say this to Scott McMahon. You're an idiot. You're a traitor. You're a piece of shit. And frankly, you don't know anything about Tina Peters' case. And for you to stand up and justify what this court has done, what this judiciary has done, is not just foolish. It shows that you're a part of the leftist machine. You've done nothing. You've sacrificed nothing. You've gone and asked people to give you money while you spew a bunch of Q bullshit. You're garbage. And it's garbage like him and other people like him, even at a higher level, that have created some mass distrust and chaos in the ideas that we have to formulate around. And that is, we're in an active insurrection, currently in an active insurrection. And it's been going on for decades. And it's a slow boil towards taking away the sovereignty of not just the state or even the Constitution. It's the sovereignty of the individual. We're treated like slaves. But just trust this guy. He's not a lawyer, but he's got it all figured out. Somewhere along the line, his little EBD's being in the basement, somebody gave it to him. They gave him this little thing. Yeah, piss off. Yeah. And actually, I don't even know if there's something I can do. Maybe I think I'd depose him. I think I could probably get that done. See if maybe Coomer's people were paying him. All right. So President Trump put this truth out this morning. Now I'm done with that guy. You guys, you go hang out with that guy, and he can seethe and masturbate to the Minions movie all he wants. Let's talk about what President Trump just put out on Truth Social. Go ahead and put it out. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are not only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in the once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Now, let me just tell you something about this. If he does it, those people go and sit between a military tribunal. They don't go to sit in front of a judge. Everything changes. Everything changes. If he enacts the Insurrection Act, which I frankly think he should, and you get rid of the machines and the mail-in ballots, I think he has no choice but to do it, because we have rogue states that are sticking together much like they did 160 years ago. And here, by the way, is what happened in Minnesota. Here's a video of them overtaking an ICE vehicle and stealing FBI rifles and vandalizing cars. Let's go ahead and play it.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Bullets? There's some bullets.
Hey, that's what he said.
I don't know.
No way.
Tourniquet there.
Did he get...
Okay.
Hey, don't film that. Oh, shit.
Eventually, you know, if it's not that's where I draw the line.
All right, so the guy that has the face tattoo that they have, that guy's going to do 20 years in prison. And the other guys around him, yeah, they're going to do a lot of time too. And there's nobody that's going to be able to get him out. And if somebody decides that they're going to hide and not give back that FBI rifle, and that rifle is used in a crime, that's going to make 20 years, 60 years. So this brings up the post that Kyle put out. He put up a post that's a legit question. He said, legit questions. I thought those people were worried about citizens owning guns. Is this checkmate? And you have Tim Walz that's saying, he said he wanted cell phone video to bank evidence on future prosecutions. This tells you that they think that they're going to win in 2026. President Trump, they think they're going to win. They think that they've secured and they've slowed things down enough. That Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche and the people that are the haves have slowed it down enough that they can wait until another regime gets into office. They can stay in their positions. They can do what they can to take away and persecute people just like they did in 2021. We are headed towards a brick wall. And I don't think the only way we're going to get out of it is to do something about it. And here, by the way, is Tampon Tim. He had something to say. Let's go ahead and play this cut.
Take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
You need to arrest him for sedition. You need to arrest him for treason. And we're way past the time where you can wait for Pam Bondi to do something with the DOJ. If we don't institute a federal rule of military action based on sedition and treason against our country, we're done. There's no difference between what we're facing right now and what we faced 160 years ago. The playbook is the same. We've just got to figure out a way that we can overcome that. And lastly, before I bring our guest on, let me tell you about our guest. Dale is a Delta Force veteran. He's a Green Beret, he's an author. He did 10 years with Delta Force. I'm sure he would have done 20 if you'd have given him the chance to. He's the famed breacher in the Panama and the Modelo prison in 1989, team leader. Green Beret, he's a weapons expert. He's a guy that I want to have in my backyard. 82nd Airborne, 9.5 years with a USG paramilitary operative, and combat tours in Grenada, Panama, Iraq, Somalia, and Afghanistan. I probably could have some good stories with him about some of the stuff that he did. I want to talk to him about time there. But I'll wait to put up the talk about the post I put up earlier about Colorado. But I'm going to tell you this. Most people stand with ICE. Most normal people in the neighborhood, they stand with ICE. You don't see tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are on the streets that are going against ICE. That's not true. Most people want those guys out of here. Oh, you committed a DUI and nearly killed someone? Get out. You assaulted someone? Get out. You raped someone? Go to prison. get hung, get hanged. You murder someone, death penalty, and then we'll send your body back to where it came from. Most people literally don't want what we're going through in our country. But the media and the bots that are out there have created an environment where they try to make themselves look bigger than they are. They are not a large part of our population. I talk to people on the left, I talk to people on the right. They're like, man, just get the TDA out. Just get the gangs out. We got our own problems with gangs here in the United States. We don't need help. What we need to do is get to a place where people have accountability. So that's what we'll talk about at the end of this deal. With that said, I want to just say welcome to the show. Dale, it's good to have you.
Thanks for having me on again. Appreciate it.
It's good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you. It's good to still be able to see.
Yeah, where are we going, man? How much fun are we going to have in the next 6 months?
Oh man, I've been saying this for a while now. I think we've engineered our own extinction, man, with so many different things happening at the same time between AI, the politics, everything that's happening in the world right now. I just think we're circling the toilet bowl, honestly. And how many more years? I don't know. But if I had to guess, I'd say we got maybe 4 to 8 years, and then things are going to go really, really bad. I don't see it getting better, especially with AI. The job losses with AI, then everybody's vying for control, international control of everything, currency, gold. These are some dark times, man. And I know, history is in a lot of ways repeating itself, but the difference is technology is so different now, is so much more dangerous. And people are crazy. That's the other part. You would think people that, you see people that have high levels of education and they're dumb as a rock, doing just things that's like, this is unfathomable. How can a person with this level of intelligence make these bad decisions? And sometimes I wonder if it is deliberate, and other times I just really do believe people are that dumb. And
well, I mean, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that specifically, because we overvalue education and undervalue competency and common sense. I don't believe that you can read a book and take a test and you can tell me that you're educated. That doesn't make you educated. And our educational system today does not teach the fundamentals of the things that are necessary. It's like saying that you're a Delta Force operator, right? But nobody ever took you through and did breach training. And anybody that knows anything about what you do when you do a mission is you do it over and over and over and over and over again. So that it's like being in a scripted deal. You know what to expect when you get into that situation. Can you imagine that if we had that in education? It would be a different world.
You want to call that an education? Go ahead. It's like, this is all deliberate, by the way, going all the way back, I think, 1913, Rockefeller education system. Our whole American education system was designed with one thing in mind. That was to create a society of slaves, not entrepreneurs. And a lot of the information that kids are being taught is completely worthless, in the real world. It's nothing but programming is all it is. It's programming so that you learn how to stand in a line, raise your hand, when the bell rings, sit down, when the bell rings, stand up, follow orders, and it's regimentation. And
I have this tendency to go and sign up and do seminars, classes. I've been doing it for years, right? And so when I go in and they'll say, okay, they're doing this deal on AI, and I'm like, all right, I want to take that. I'm going to go do that. It costs like $3 or $4 grand. The last 8 weeks, you get tested on it. Sometimes it's 12 weeks. But you take that, you go through this program, and most of the time you will have one day where you have to be in person, so you'll have to fly to New York or you'll have to fly to whatever state the university is in. And then the rest of it is done online. And I'm going to tell you something, Dale. The amount of stupid that you deal with when you walk through these little small groups, I'm like, how in the world, how do you even dress yourself in the morning, right? It makes no sense. You're talking about and most of the people that are in these classes are younger. I do it because I'm fascinated by information. I want to learn more, right? But most of the people in there are 25, 26, 27, young guys, girls, and they use the word like about 300 times. Like, Dale, I don't know what that word is, but at one point I had to stop and be like, if you say that like word one more time, I'm gonna reach through this phone and choke the shit out of you. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you ain't wrong. That's for sure. Yeah, our education system has definitely failed Americans, and yeah, it's not just the young people, man. I mean, go on LinkedIn sometimes and read some of the comments from people with postgraduate degrees, advanced degrees, lawyers, and you read some of the crap they write. It's like, how is it this person even got a degree when, I mean, it makes absolute, and I'm wondering, am I somehow being duped here or gaslighted, or is this a bot that's doing this? I mean, a human being can't possibly think like this. And a good example, right, was when they, what's her bucket got nominated for the Supreme Court, Brown, and they asked her, "Do you know what's the difference between yeah, what is a woman?" And when this person can't answer, either she's really stupid or she's really a disingenuous person. She's lying, right? She's a manipulator. Either way, she's wrong. Either way. And why, and here she is now, sitting on the court in the bench when yesterday, right? They went over the whole transsexual, transgender, women's sports, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, how is she gonna weigh in on it when she doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman? I mean, she couldn't admit it before, so what's changed? Nothing. So this is why we're so upside down. This is why I have literally no hope. Because it's not because this administration is not trying, albeit I don't think they're trying hard enough. For example, how come Bondi hasn't arrested one person yet? Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, no. She arrested a contractor. She arrested a contractor that gave up or gave information about the fact that there might have been an operation happening in Venezuela. She arrested that person. So she'll go after, I call those the have-nots. Those are the useful idiots, right?
Right.
But what about the haves? What about the people a part of the cartel, the enforcers, the earners, the captains? We haven't touched one of them. Not one of them.
No. It makes you wonder what's going on. I mean, we're almost a year into this election, presidency, and what's happening here? I hear a lot of noise, the Epstein files, blah, 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 a little bit here, a little bit there. And everybody, calls Donald Trump a fascist and this and that and that. You know what? Here's my advice to Donald Trump for what it matters. Just be the fascist. Screw it. Just do it. Right? Just do it. Do everything except you're going to do. Just do it.
Mr. President, I just need you to just be the fascist that you need to be.
They've already accused you of it, so just do it. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Go ahead, and start arresting people. The hell with it. I mean, if you're gonna accuse him of that, they're gonna call me a racist, misogynist. Okay, I'll be your racist, misogynist. I know what the real truth is, but just
Bro, you can't be an operator and be a racist. It's impossible.
I know, right?
I mean.
No, well, nobody's called me a racist. I mean, they'd like to, but it's going to be hard to do.
All the Hispanics that can run, jump, or swim, they're all operators.
Yeah.
Right? And all they have to do is hang out with you guys for about 5 minutes, and your racist will come out of their mouth like 300 times to all of you, no matter what color you are. Right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, you're right.
So I guess there's a little bit of truth in it that we're all.
Well, and no, if you really want to be honest, everybody's to some degree or another racist. I mean, it's literally part of the culture. So there's not I've lived into lived or traveled or worked in over 101 countries. I've been around this planet. I live abroad right now. You know, right now I'm actually in Florida. For all my enemies out there that want to come and get me.
Well, that's abroad.
Kind of. It is kind of a foreign country here, believe it or not. It's a good one. But you know, culturally, man, American culture is one of the best in the world, you know. And even for example, my wife's Indonesian, my son's here also, he's Indonesian, you know, and they look at the American culture and they're like, wow, Donald Trump, you know. They're just like, yeah, they just love this guy. They love Americana. They love the culture we have or perceivably have, you know, but the world looks at us differently. I hear all these clowns on there never left the borders of our country talk about how the rest of the world hates us. I'll tell you that's not true. Living abroad, when this thing then went down in Maduro in Venezuela, people were like, "Wow, that's American right there, right? Why can't we have a president like Donald Trump?" That's what I'm hearing out there. I'm not hearing, you know, Donald Trump's a fascist, racist. That's all left-wing bullshit. But the rest of the world that's got a couple live brain cells, they don't see it that way, and they actually admire Donald Trump. They admire the American culture. They, you know, they see what's going on. They're not idiots either. They see the as you mentioned, the insurrection from within. I agree with you. That's where we are. And even Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder can see that bullshit. So, you know, and foreigners are seeing it. So it's the left's not tricking anybody but themselves. As long as the right, the conservatives particularly, stay focused and remember what's important, and that is, you know, we have to, like you mentioned again earlier, we've got to start pushing back, and pushing back hard, or we're going to lose it all. You know, we have an opportunity here with this administration to get a good foothold and get it right. But it's going to take a collective. It's going to take many people on the right. You know, we already have, you know, the rhinos, you know, already going against Donald Trump, man. It's like, why can't this team play as a team? Why do we have to have these Una Via MFs in there? You know, they got to go their own way because they got to make a statement and derail the entire process. We could win and we could do really well if everybody would work as one team. Let's get the ball over the finish line. All right, let's win this hands down so the Democrats never have a shot at this again, and the Marxists. And then what we can do is make adjustments later on. Right now, we've just got to do, you know, we got to do the hard right thing over the easy wrong things. And too many politicians, even on the right, want to do the easy, you know, the easy wrong thing over the hard right thing, and that's
they're betrayers, Dale.
Absolutely,
They're betrayers. I mean, these are people that would sell their grandmother down the road for just a little bit more power.
Absolutely. I totally agree. You know, this is why I wasn't really joking when I said earlier Trump just needs to go ahead and be the fascist that everybody calls him, and he needs to just go out there and start crushing nuts, man. I'm no more bullshit.
Walnuts,
you know,
walnuts.
You know, well, arresting one dude here, two dudes there. You know, man, they ought to be loading up tractor trailers with these monkeys and locking them up for 50 years, man. And let's call them what they are. They are terrorists. They are terrorists within. You know, everybody's talking about the bimbo that got shot in the face the other day for being stupid. I call her a terrorist too. She had no business being there. She had no business interfering with law enforcement. She set herself up for that shot. You know,
she got paid for it. She was getting paid.
Exactly, right? So, you know, to me, I'm like, you know what? We've got to be hard. We got to just be assholes. At this point, they're going to be assholes. And before all this, you know, this has been going on for a long time, by the way. This is not a phenomenon in the last couple of years. This has been going on for 20, 30 years. It's been slowly, insidiously creeping in. But we're now at terminal velocity for sure. You know, I think we are in World War III. I think we are in an insurrection. And we're literally in the final throes for our own freedom. And if we don't, you know, I've said this many times. I've said it on Alex Jones' show. You know, it's time for men to be warriors. Start standing up for your family, your children, your wives, and the American way of life and your freedom. Because if you think somebody else is going to do it for you, it ain't going to happen. It's not happening now. We're going to have to stand up, you know. And so, honestly, we're all the conservatives right now. Why don't we pack our vehicles, roll up to Michigan, as American citizens, stand with law enforcement and give them top cover, give them security so they can do their job. I'd be willing to do that, you know. But trying to organize something, I'm not a community organizer or anything like that. But it's going to take, you know, we're going to have to move to that level. And also the thing about violence.
So here's the problem with that is that you could roll up there and you could grab a bunch of operators. I mean, this is just working the problem, right? Because you have to work the problem if you're going to get to a solution. Yeah. Let's hypothetically say you have 300 of us that rolled up there to Minnesota and got out and created security for ICE so that they could arrest people. Let's say that you did that. The ICE officials have immunity. When they shot her, it was a justified shooting. It was unfortunate, right? Because she's a useful idiot. She actually died doing the biddings of people that are afraid to come out on the street and do the biddings themselves, right? They're the wizards behind the curtain, the little disgusting midgets that, frankly, those are the weak people that seem to be in our government, right? But they have immunity. We don't. We basically are the have-nots. So anyone that's out there that would get up and stand up for ICE, the problem and what has happened historically, go back to 2020 specifically, they turned against us. Police officers turned against the people that were trying to protect the police officers, and they ended up throwing them in jail. They ended up prosecuting those people because the apparatus, the judiciary and the apparatus is so rotted to the core, it doesn't represent the interests of the people.
Yeah. Well, so actually you kind of made my point then. This is why the people need to stand up and take this shit back. You know what? And you know, we go up there and not act on behalf of ICE, but we can act on behalf as American citizen, American men, trying to protect our country from the rot from within. You know, these people they're not Americans. They're not even pseudo-Americans at best. They're paid actors, but you know they're the dumbest of us all, and that's why they're doing it. And look, again, I think we've hit that point of no return on that PNR a long time ago. And you mentioned earlier in the show, you know, you were mentioning violence, right? Nothing, you know, violence doesn't solve anything. I'll tell you the hell it don't. It solves a whole lot of shit.
Yeah, it does.
You know, and that's how this country was won, on violence. This is how most countries were created, was through violence. That's just part of the human condition. You know, man is a warring ape. And I think it's time we start going full chimpanzee on people, man. And I'm tired because, you know, I just came back with my wife and my kid. You know, they just got their green cards, and
which has been a big hassle too, by the way. Right? People don't understand what you've had to go through.
No,
you know, just to protect your family.
Yeah, and honestly, I've gotten zero help on this thing. You know how I finally got this sorted out real quick? I actually called the ARSO in Jakarta. He was a new guy. And I told him what's going on. I said, man, this is a security issue. Here's what happened to me. Here's what's going on. And I said, it's a security issue, and people are going to start getting hurt. And I swear to God, that dude jumped on it. By the next day, I had the embassy calling me, and they got this whole thing sorted out. And here we are. It took 3 years to get my wife back here from Indonesia. But that's another story. I'm not done with that story either. By the way, they're still going to roll over that one. But, you know, that's the irony is, you know, people are complaining that ICE is rolling.
But your wife couldn't come into the country.
No, she couldn't come to the country.
So
we were married here.
What's that?
Yeah, we were married here.
But you can be here illegally, but you had to go live with your family overseas because a combat veteran who gave up decades of his life gets told, yeah, no, we only bring in Muslims that have 7 wives, and we give them 6 houses up and down the street, and we let them collect all the money they want and live off of your forehead. But, you know, here's what I want you to do, Dale. I need you to go live over there because, you know, we're not going to protect you. It's just the same sad story.
Just for the listeners out there, just so they understand the gravity of this, right? So my wife and I have been in and out of the United States for several years. We're married here, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, COVID happened. She got hit by a police car at 90 miles an hour, was hospitalized, determined she had cancer. Long story short, we overstayed a visa, not realizing that we could overstay a 5-year unlimited entry visa, but apparently we can at 6 months. And we left, and when we came back, she was not arrested, but detained. We were both detained, but I was released, and she was deported. And then in May of 2024, the FBI contacted me and said that they have credible intelligence that I'm a priority target for Al-Qaeda. They're literally looking for me here in Panama City Beach, Florida. They were literally looking for me. How do I know that? Because my roommate contacted me, and I've got another Green Beret friend that lives here in Song. And so, yeah, thanks to Joe Biden, Al-Qaeda is in our country, and they're looking for guys. Lucky for me, I don't live here. I live different countries, and I move quite a bit, and I won't be here very long either. But you would think, now that I've got a letter from the FBI, a credible threat, you would think they would give my wife her visa back. Even if you don't want to give her the green card, give her the visa so I could get off the X if I found out they were running ops on me where I currently live right now abroad. And nope, here I am since May 2024, just now left the country with my wife. You know, they had no intention of helping me and my wife, and this is the Biden administration. They would rather leave me out there and let me and my family get killed as an American veteran than give my wife her visa back. Yet you and me, you know, the taxpayers here, we're funding schools and Medicare and, you know, all the stuff these illegal immigrants, you know, coming to our country that they're getting our tax dollars, you know, my tax dollars, and yet I couldn't get any help, right? So this is the betrayal I've had to undergo, and you know, I finally worked my way out of it, and you know, I'm not done with it. But anyways, you know, there's a story there that, you know, this is how fucked up our country is. Sorry to cuss like that, but this is where we're at, you know. We allow the criminals to come in, we allow the terrorists to come in, and we keep guys like me that have served this country, never been in trouble. I got 2 speeding tickets my whole life, never been in trouble, and, you know, I can't bring my family back to the United States. I can't get off the X. It's just mind-boggling. So, you know, when we started this conversation, you asked me what's it going to look like, and this is why I have almost zero hope for our country, because the left is bound and determined to destroy it one way or another. It's going to happen. So I don't know. You know, hate to sound like a nihilist, but it is what it is. You know, we've come a long way, and it can change if Americans on the right, the silent majority, which I call them a bunch of cowards, would just start making some noise and start pushing back. But they're not, you know, and I don't know who they think's going to come to save them, because nobody's coming. Nobody's coming. It's up to us to make the change.
Yeah, so let's back up a little bit. Look, I don't want to black pill people. I don't want to get us in a place where we're shooting at each other. Obviously, you don't either. Anytime you've ever seen battle and you've seen war, you've seen the bodies strewn, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that for anybody. I don't care who you are, right? At the same time, let's push that on the side real quick. Let's talk about the operation that just happened in Venezuela. So you've had to do explosive breaches. You've had to go through and do extractions. That had to happen. You've done that before. Mm-hmm. They went in 3.5 hours, knocked off 126, I think is what I saw, security forces. A vast majority of those were Cuban mercenaries, right? They used some state-of-the-art weaponry, which I think is fascinating, right? And they plucked him out of a country, a sovereign nation, like they were going to the grocery store without one casualty, and pulled out the leader of that country, the wealthiest country, arguably, by resources in the entire Americas. And they did so in 3.5 hours. All right, you got to tell me, how'd they do it? I mean, that's I mean, well, the amount of intelligence you would have to have, and the amount of understanding you would have to make that possible. It's it's pretty dramatic.
Well, I'd like to do a little bit of a comparison, so it's unprecedented. I want to say it's unprecedented. It is unprecedented that you have, for example, our country go in and snatch a political leader out of their country, and in the fashion we did it, right? It's pretty amazing. But, I was one of the Modelo prison raiders in 1989 at Just Cause, in Panama, to rescue Kurt Muse. And we did that operation under 6 minutes with a little over roughly 23 guys. And we flew into a hornet's nest. The entire commandancia had been reinforced. The prison had been reinforced with Panamanian Defense Force. It had roughly 120 shooters on the ground floor of the prison itself. Yeah, we went in there and literally just snatched this man out from the jaws of death within 6 minutes. And same thing, we didn't have any KIAs. We had some WIAs. We lost 2 helicopters, but a flawless operation. Now, fast forward, here we are again, very similar operation. And I heard somebody
They lost the helicopter. They did lose the helicopter.
Yeah, but overall, it was a successful mission. Mission was, accomplished. But here's the thing, everybody wants to attribute it to technology. We had this, we had that, we had that, and although technology does help, I'm not knocking it. It made a big difference. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to the man with a gun on the ground, and those Delta operators went in there and put a lot of men to sleep and didn't take any casualties and got this guy out of a hardened target. That's just that speaks volumes to the selection process for Delta, the people that it select, the level of training that has gone into these men, and the equipment and the funding and all the resources that we have put towards that unit since its conception just keeps paying off. It just keeps paying off over and over and over. And so when you put money and training into a force, what you put into it is what you can get out of it. And they put everything into this unit, everything. And so now we've got probably the rest of the world, a lot of leadership out there quaking in their boots, going, oh shit, if they can do that, what can they do to me? But it comes down to, you're right, there was a lot of, and man, there were, Delta Force is the tip of the spear. It's the shiny, sharp end of it, right? However, behind it, you have to have a staff along with support, right? Intelligence, human, SIGINT, you have all types of aviation platforms. You've got a lot of stuff that is going to push that spearhead in through the target. And so without that shaft, you got nothing. So, hats off to everybody in the whole operation that made this a reality. And again, it speaks volumes to the professionalism, the professionals of the U.S. military. I'll even give a nod and tip my hat to Hegseth. Everybody doubted this guy, but here he is. This is on him, and he did it. And so I'm pretty proud of what we've done as Americans. I'm proud of what the unit did, but I'm not surprised. And I think. If nothing else, man, that should be pretty motivating for the rest of the military and for Americans, man. To know that we have that kind of capability. It's just amazing. I was shocked when I heard it.
All right, so based on that, though, as an operator, they had to have trained on this, and I know that I'm probably asking too many questions about how long they had to train. I mean, I remember having to go in, and they would make me do things 7, 8, 9 times. When I would move with someone that with some security, right, and they'd like do it again. So I know, and I've looked at the ROE manuals and things like that on how you engage. So you have to be well versed on every operation, right? But this is different. They took him alive, which is unbelievable. And do you think that there was 2 things? How long did it take them, do you think, to train to make sure they could execute on this operation? And on the other side is, do you think there was a contingency that if you have to put them down, put them down?
Yeah, actually, so training is easy because they're always training, right? So it's fundamentals. CQB is always applying the fundamentals, right? So As far as the rehearsal goes, I don't know, but most likely they built a mock-up of the compound, the building that he was in. I know they did. That's just, again, here's a unit that has endless amount of funding, and I'm sure they had plenty of time. I don't know how much time, but I'm sure they had enough time to build a mock-up and train on it until they couldn't get it wrong, right? So, and they do, and the unit's very good at it. It's not like they got to do a lot of training to get really good. They're always good. They're always training, right?
I mean, they knocked out all the power. I mean, the amount of things that they had to plan in succession in order to be successful. I don't think people understand that it's not just the operation of extraction. It was the operation before the operation. It was the operation for that support staff, and for making sure that you could keep it all quiet. Because this is the first operation like this where zero leaks. I mean, they say that there was a leak afterwards, but let's be honest. This is a pretty tight operation.
Yeah, I'll go back to Panama Modelo Prison. So just kind of give you perspective. We had been training on that for several months. Prior to that. So, moreover, we already had human on the ground. Different intelligence sources, collectors, picking up atmospherics. We had that going on, and then prior to the actual the assault, we already had snipers on target. They're watching, reporting back. They're the ones that actually reported back and said, we're starting to see an unusual amount of buildup. We see these guys reinforcing with sandbags, 50 caliber machine guns. And what happened was we were compromised early on. So at least 7 or 8 hours before the actual hit time, we got intelligence reporting that the operation had been compromised. A Marine and an Army guy, both got on the phone, called mommy and daddy, said, if you don't see me again, I love you. Another guy went down to the canal and warned all his Panamanian friends, stay away from me. Look, it's crazy, right? This is the kind of shit that happened. And so, but by this point, aircraft were inbound, had a huge signature. There was no way we're calling this off because we're going to lose the element of surprise for sure, even though we've kind of lost it already. And we ended up shifting the H hour from midnight to 0020 hours on December 20th, just to the right 20 minutes. And that's all we could afford because there was so many moving parts already being activated. But with all that said, we went in, same thing, power went out immediately. So there's complete blackout in the city. A raging gunfight between the commandancia and the prison itself. We had 2 AC-130 birds up, pound the commandancia. So there was a lot of activity, but a lot of moving parts. But within 6 minutes, it was all over. And again, we didn't lose anybody. We had WIAs, but no KIAs, and we lost 2 helicopters. So, same thing on this mission. I'm far removed from the military now, but just from what I'm hearing on the news, etc. Yeah, they took out the power. They jammed the radar systems for the air defense systems. Yeah, I'm sure they probably brought a lot of things to bear. More things they'll disclose because for operational security purposes, not going to talk about all the cool widgets and gadgets and guns they use. That's going to be classified. But
the
all
sound
that
wave machines, the sound wave guns, people throwing up everywhere.
That's not even new. That's not even new technology. I'm just kind of curious to see if they were able to make it smaller, like micro size, handheld size. That would.
They had to have used a backpack, or they had to use some sort of. I mean, just the way that they described the situation.
Yeah.
From people on the ground, not even from from some of the survivors. They said we just. It's as if they used like some sort of So.
I'm sure they used personal drones. They probably had every piece of technology they could leverage and put it in play. But again, like I said, at the end of the day, it still comes down to the guy with the gun because somebody's got to take those surgical shots. Somebody's got to grab the old man and his old lady. There's a lot of human stuff that's got to happen, and until we get there using robots. It's going to take the man on the ground ultimately with the gun to finish it. So, I'm like I said, I'm pretty stoked about the whole thing, and we've come a long way from. I remember the unit when I was there. We were shooting MP5s, wearing civilian clothes and flight suits and Protect helmets, and we were pretty primitive at the time, And when I look at where we've come today, and a lot of the stuff that you see used by the military today had its origins in Delta. Everything from satellite radios, antennas, to all the weapon systems you see now, the M4, Mod 4s, and various systems that are out there, all had its genesis in the unit. And I'm proud to be a part of that. I have been a part of that. The explosive technology and how we used it, it's all, now we're at another level of it, And again, just, I'm envious that I couldn't be a part of it, but, I'm actually proud that I was a part of it as well at some point. So kudos to the guys over there. And hopefully America's back.
Dale, we've got a couple of strategic things that have to happen over the next 3 or 4 months in order to get us to a place where we can save the country. This is like the tipping point of the battle of Normandy, right? I mean, we're at a place right now where there's battles to be won that are imperative. And I think one of the things that we have to do in order to right this ship with all the chaos that's going on, because you said it when we first started, and that is, Joe, we've got so much wrong, so many bad things happening at the same time, that the only thing you can do is kill the chaos. And the only way you kill the chaos is to give people back the authority to take control of their communities. In other words, you gotta equalize the voting system, right? When you equalize the voting system, nothing else really matters. The chaos might still continue for 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years. We might have a 4-year problem, right? Because the headache, it's like drinking too much. We're going to have a hangover, right? We have to get rid of all of these bad people, and we just got to reinstitute leadership that listens and leads together inside of the communities at the local, state, and federal level. That has to happen, right? Because we don't have another Trump, right? You have to break the political apparatus. Everything else will fall behind it.
Yeah.
But I truly believe we have to do that. So if we're able to do that, if we're able to get rid of machines, mail-in ballots, get rid of some of these, have more support, like I said, I think that most of the country supports ICE, and we're able to do those things. Do you see that 4-year window that you're talking about leading towards healing, or do you think we're still headed towards the ultimate destruction of, okay, we're still in massive, massive trouble?
Yeah. So I like everything you just said, but here's the other part of it, right? That
but everything that comes before "but" is bullshit.
Well, here's the problem, right? We complain about immigration every day.
Yeah.
Listen, my mom who has a green card, she's actually finally going to get her citizenship after I don't know how many years now, 50-something years, holding a green card. My wife's got a green card. My son's got a green card. They earned it. I'm all about immigration, right? America was founded on immigration, legal immigration. But we're all complaining about
assimilation has to be part of immigration.
Absolutely, right? Exactly.
Okay.
They got to assimilate to our culture, right? Don't bring your culture and make me adapt to it. Learn how to speak your language. Learn how to speak my language. But the problem is this: we're so focused on all the illegal immigrations that have come in, but nobody's ever talking about the problem with AI and how pervasive it is. Soon, within a couple of years, probably 70 to 80% of the world's population won't have a job anymore. We're not paying attention to AI, and it's just, no matter what we do in America to save it, if we don't address this AI issue, employment, and all the things that go along with that, there will be nothing left to save, and I think it will just create more chaos. Can you imagine in 4 years from now, let's just say 60% of the population doesn't have a job anymore and won't find a job because it's been replaced by AI. What do you think that's going to do to the social fabric? What do you think that's going to do to crime? Where do you think that road's going to take us, right? So,
well, we already know. What you're saying, I mean, look, the World Economic Forum came out in 2011, 2012, saying there'd be some massive changes and shifts in human behavior. They already knew about it. They were pursuing this thing called a quantum computer. By the year 2014, 2015, they had mastered how they could keep the computer system cool enough that they could actually then run that system. By 2018, quantum computing was already in the mix. They were using it for situation analysis and how they could overthrow governments and do things all over the world in order to see kind of what the next step is. So there are things that we've been doing as a country for years that people think, well, it's not there yet. We're not there. We've been there. Okay, we've been, like the weapons you talked about. They're not old technology. The creating a micro environment where you can operate it is relatively new. But when we talk about AI, the World Economic Forum knew about this. Yuval Noah Harari talked about this when he said that we needed to reduce the population of the country and the world by 90 to 95%. Bill Gates was over in Africa trying to sterilize entire groups of black people. That's not by accident. He knew. These people knew. They had been working on this for a long time, right? And the only way you combat AI is with sticks and stones. In other words, you get back to the basics so that you can make sure that you have a functioning society.
And I think this is the point, right? So this is why Trump is so important right now. We have to win decisively. It can't be, if you keep messing around, we're going to come and get you. It's got to be, no, we're coming to get you today. The tractor trailers are going to load your asses up. The shit stops now. We've got to get hard, man, because we don't have a lot of time. And because ultimately, if we can get this right, and we can get our country back, and we can get the control back under Trump, Trump can now make moves and say, you know what, we're not playing the World Economic Forum game. We're not doing this. We're not going digital currency for everybody. It's voluntary. We're still going to have fiat, right? All those things that keeps us from getting enslaved. He's going to leave that. He's going to allow us to live freely. I believe he will do that. And but if we don't win this decisively, we'll have to bend over for the World Economic Forum and the rest of the world.
So the problem with the haves versus the have-nots is that the haves think that they're always going to exist, and that the have-nots are the ones that are expendable, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue that we face. When you're in the mob, you don't feel like you're expendable. You don't feel like you're you're at risk. So any decision that you make, because you're immune from all of those decisions, like if you're inside the judiciary, you're not worried about losing your job. They'll make a couple examples out of people, and you might get caught in the net, but most people are not gonna. They're gonna throw, hey, just resign, retire, like we'll move on from you, right? So
yeah,
it's optics and kabuki theater. Most of the time, what you're dealing with Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, and what you have in this judiciary, and in the DOJ and the layer of the den of evil, there's no consequences, none.
No, and this is the thing with leadership. With real leadership, there's accountability and responsibility, right?
Right.
But we're not seeing that. We're seeing people in leadership positions doing absolutely nothing but talking. Why have we not arrested more people? Like there should be a lot of people sitting in jail right now waiting for their day in court, and it's not happening. And as long as we're not holding people accountable at every level, they're just going to keep doing what they're doing, and this is why they're getting away with it. Is because there's no accountability. We're not enforcing the laws. We're not doing anything. Yeah, we're going out and arresting people with ICE. They're doing their job, but it's going to take more than that. It's going to be all the protesters, those antagonists that are interfering with law enforcement. They need to be held accountable. Not only them, but guys like Tim Walz, right? The puppet masters. These guys that are encouraging people to go out and do this and do that and take videos and blah blah blah. They need to be held accountable as well. And like I said, it's a big machine, and it's got a lot of moving parts. And we need to figure out we need to shut down some of the key pieces on this, take out some of the key figureheads, like Walz and all those monkeys in Minnesota, right? All the bullshit they're pulling. California, we can go on and on and on. But if there's not going to be an accountability and responsibility, nothing's going to happen. And that's why I sound like a nihilist, because I really don't have a lot of faith that this is going to work out. I think we've gone too far down the road. And the only way we're going to either turn it around or change direction is going to require American civilian. It's going to take American men, just American men, to go, you know what, our government can't help us. They're overwhelmed. The law enforcement can't help us. They're overwhelmed. It's time for us to exercise our rights, our Second Amendment right, and stand up and protect our country. I sound like a revolutionary, you know what? But at some point, it's got to change, man. It can't keep going this way, And I hate when I hear men, I'm just turning off the news. I don't want to hear all that. It's just, man, that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you not to pay attention. They want you to think that somebody else is coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. I thought somebody would save me and my family. I thought for sure that's an easy one. Surely they wouldn't leave me out here to die, with my wife and my family. Oh, yeah, they would. And they did. Right. And so, I finally was able to extract myself because I made one good phone call to the right guy who actually did his damn job. One guy did his damn job, out of all these people. Other people tried to help me. There's some really good men out there that have tried to help me, and they just kept hitting walls because the system's broke. And again, I say this, with all my heart. Nobody's coming for you, man. Nobody's coming to help us. If we don't do it, nobody's going to help us. Do you see help? It's not there.
This gets to the part where in a lawless society, you only have one choice. And that one choice is that you must act. You must act in that environment. So, Dale, I look forward to connecting back with you. We got another guest in. I went over a little bit, but it's always great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I want to say this. Thank you. And you just tell me where I need to go. If we've got to start building a fraternity. We talked about this before. And then that fraternity has to be able to say that, hey, I am my brother's keeper. And I think ultimately when we are going that direction, but we have to deal with the infiltration issue and the radical nature of people saying, all right, let's go shoot people. Well, the goal is not to shoot people. The goal is not to go to war. The goal is to, as a community, stand up and protect each other, right? And then that leads as a deterrent, just like you would if you had a deterrent in other areas as well. So, yeah, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How do people follow you? How do people follow you?
Real easy. DaleComstock.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Official American Badass. So, I'm not hard to find.
All right. Hey, God bless you. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, sir. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
He's not playing around, and he's not kidding. It's not like he's saying this stuff to be hyperbolic. He doesn't have to be hyperbolic. He was with Delta Force, right? Hyperbolic would be when you go into a prison and you put your life on the line, knowing that there's a chance you might not come home. This just brings me back to the place where we keep fighting. We started this off by talking about this little prick that wrote this letter to President Trump and wrote this letter to Tina Peters, as if he has ever had a seat at the table. And the thing about Dale is Dale's had a seat at the table. He's walked through this. And now what he's saying is, hey, listen, the only way out of this is to make sure that we make drastic decisions. It's like having a kid that's off the rails, and you got to put your hands on him to make sure that your kid actually does the right thing so you can protect his future. If we want to protect our future, we're going to have to do more than just sit back and watch things go. All right, so our next guest, we're going to get back to talking about Tina Peters for a lot of reasons. One, yesterday when we were going back and forth on the comments, Jonathan Moseley was in the comments, and we were talking about what I thought related to Tina Peters and what they missed, what they might have missed. Obviously, it's easy to be an armchair quarterback when it comes to critiquing a lawyer. I was pretty open and animated about some of the things that he wasn't arguing. I wish I could have reached through and been a little puppet and made John talk. But you could clearly see that Jonathan was an attorney. I asked the question because of some of the comments, which were well articulated inside the comments as I'm sitting here going through things. So let me just tell you about him, because I asked him to come on. Never met him before. Actually, he may have met me before. I haven't actually talked to him. I recognized some of the things that he has contributed to. He practiced law for 22 years. He's from the East Coast of Virginia. He graduated from George Mason University. He's defended clients on J6 capital cases, including some of the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. And he handled related litigation and under significant scrutiny and challenges. He's a writer and commentator. He also has some background. He faced professional disciplinary action, including disbarment in Virginia in 2022, and attributed to some of the lawfare and pressure related to J6 defense work. This just shows you that the states that get captured, they are capturing them one by one: California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Michigan, Minnesota. It's a state by state capturing using systems in order to put the minority into positions of power and then put it on the slippery slope where you just basically destroy the ethos of a nation. That's what they've done. It's pretty easy to see. It's an insurrection. We're going through it. So with that said, I want to go ahead and welcome Jonathan to the show. Welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to get to know you. See, I have a little bit of trouble with my lighting, I see. That's terrible. Anyway, so let me know if you're going through 3 o'clock or 3:30, because it's my first time on here, in terms of how much time you have. But because a lot of the stuff you were saying, I'm very, very, very interested about how we save our country. But right now, let's just start with the topic on, on Tina Peters and things. Some of the things I thought about with regard to yesterday is that 15 minutes, which ended up being 25 minutes for each side in the appellate, is unfortunately a very little amount of time. It goes really fast. Being there at the podium is tough. It's tough to concentrate, tough to field. I mean, there are times, Supreme Court, other appeals, you get 2 sentences out before the judges start asking questions, and they so it's hard
so you
to
prepare. So Jonathan, you prepare for an argument. You prepare and you prepare, and the judges basically interrupt it, make it difficult for you to follow the flow of what you created. You find yourself jumping around trying to handle all the judicial questions. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct, and you have to be. That's not much better. I don't know what's wrong here, but but the thing is that it's very hard to be prepared for that and concentrate. You know you're going to get interrupted, and so you're trying to concentrate on what you have to say while also being ready for the anticipation of being thrown off. So I thought it was a very good hearing. There are a lot of things that I thought needed to be included that were not.
Me too, obviously.
My prediction would be, and the thing is, these were relatively good judges. I would in the California Court of Appeals. They obviously knew the. I don't know why you think they so that they clearly knew the record very well, which is a big plus. It should be obvious, but not so much. So they knew, they knew what was in the transcripts. They knew what was in the court trial. But normally a good judge is going to kick the tires on both sides. You've heard it probably said many, many times in the news and everything like that you can't judge how the case is going to turn out by the questions, because conscientious judges, they grill both sides just to see what they're going to say. They're going to ask tough questions and see, does the person have an answer? What is their answer? How are they going to back up what they're saying? Nevertheless, the nature of the questions and where they took the judges, I think, in spite of that warning, I believe that, I predict that there's going to be a split decision. I think the whole part about immunity, federal immunity, they call it supremacy immunity, but it's really federal immunity that Tina Peters was using. It was exercising what the federal precedents have recognized is a federal function. She's not employed by the federal government. She's not getting a paycheck from the U.S. Treasury, but the function of what she's doing is still carrying out a federal responsibility, and therefore she's entitled to immunity under the federal government, and that's supreme under the supremacy clause over whatever the state is doing. So I think that was sort of, presumably the judges have read the briefs as well, and they're not going entirely on the basis of what we heard. But it was kind of bungled. I think in terms of, it was kind of a mishmash, and some things that should have been brought out were brought out. Some of the other cases, not only were they well argued, but it's interesting that some of the judges really came to life. I don't know why. Sometimes they just are animated about it, it offends them, or they just decided they needed to step up and help. I don't know, but the thing is that they came on very strong. So I believe
they signaled some things that I thought were really important. One, the charging with her a felony and then giving jury instructions as a misdemeanor. They were upset about that, and I think they were visibly, at least two of the three, were visibly disgusted by the assistant attorney general, who tried to still justify it by right and saying, look, so I actually saw a lot of promise in the fact that the judges were, even all three, I think split decision is right, but I think all three of them saw how problematic this judge was in the sentencing and how he used the First Amendment against Tina Peters and making sure that he had almost a visceral reaction to how he sentenced her in this case.
Yes, all of that. I mean, obviously, tactics in litigation is a science. Appeals is lawyers, both in law school and in continuing legal education, spend a lot of time trying to figure this out. And they'll tell you what judges like or what they tend to think. Nobody really knows. But there's some very good operating theories. Sometimes it's said they have a pet peeve. They're talking to each other. Sometimes they want to push an agenda item that's really not obvious to the particular case. But I think you're absolutely right that in this case, I think the nature of their discussions was really signaling some real problems with this particular case. And I think the idea that the jury was confused or misled or not well served, let me say, in terms of the confusion of those issues, might lead to a new trial. It might, it will probably have some of the charges dismissed, some of the sentencing, like one was sentenced as if it was a felony when really it was a misdemeanor. That will require, at a minimum, resentencing. Now, at her age, I don't think Tina Peters wants to go through another trial, but at least it's possible, and that will probably lead to a revisiting of bail, bond, being let out on bond while these proceedings go. Because if you have fewer charges and lesser charges still pending, the argument of letting her out in the meantime is stronger. And of course, it was interesting because the whole issue of Trump's pardon, I was surprised that was not a bigger issue, because a court has to satisfy itself as to its own jurisdiction. Does the court have jurisdiction at all is the biggest, it's the first issue that has to be, it's the appetizer that has to be dealt with. So Peter Tickton sat down and was just available to answer questions, but this court panel, these three judges, just skipped over it. There was a motion filed that this court doesn't have jurisdiction because of Trump's pardons. The issues are very complicated and very difficult. Some very good arguments, but novel. If it's, I would predict that the whole issue of pardoning, what is, I think, a sham about state. I think calling it the state issues is a sham. It's like dressing up a pig. They're not state issues; they're federal issues. But that's just my pet peeve.
Well, I don't think it's a pet peeve, Jonathan. I think you're right. I think the idea, this is the same issue that I had when we started talking about the tariff issue. And if the commander in chief, the guy that is the CEO of your company, can't dictate the flow of goods and property into your country in order to protect the interests of the sovereignty of the people that are here, then we have a real problem. And the Supreme Court kicked that down the road as well. There are fundamental issues that we have to look at when it comes to the sovereignty of that jelly bean jar. If the states within the country are a part of the jelly bean jar, and the jelly bean jar is the federal government, it basically holds all the jelly beans, okay? If they're saying that a state election is to be, they can willy-nilly, whatever side's in charge can decide anything that they want to do, and they can change the rules, and they can create who it is and what they charge you for, while ignoring the jelly bean jar as the thing that holds the jelly beans. Then we don't have an operating society. That's not a way that any country could ever function, because then you're always making a decision based on a justification of whether or not someone could or could not be charged for a crime based on what the interests that they were serving. Were they serving the jelly bean jar, or were they serving the jelly bean themselves? Go.
Yeah, and one of the things that we tend to ignore, although if we stop to think about it, it's obvious, is that on election day, you go in on one ballot and you're voting for federal, state, and county on the same piece of paper.
Yes.
And each one of those are governed by completely different laws. So the federal, and you almost always have you always have a House of Representatives candidate, that you have the same piece of paper judged by a completely different set of laws dealing with the federal election than your county school board or more or less county. So that creates a big problem. I've spent a lot of time worried about how to present this, and I think my feeling is that if you are going to pardon someone for federal issue, I would think the president's federal power to say, okay, you were doing something for the federal function, but you just didn't do it very well, or somebody doesn't like how you did it. I would think that would be a federal pardon, because if you're saying like, okay, the FBI went and arrested somebody, but they ran over the person's flower garden, while carrying out a federal function. An imperfectly carried out federal function, to me, should be a straight up federal pardon. But I also was saying that it is quite possible that they'll be debating this in law schools 200 years from now. What's happening now with Trump and Peter Tichton's arguments, and the Tina Peter case. I would guess it's going to be a big deal. Although there's so many things happening so fast, it's just amazing. It's ridiculous. That's what from your previous guests and things, is just the volume, the velocity of things happening is just extraordinary. So yeah, I think it's important. I think I would like to. The thing is, there's some very big issues here, but Tina Peters doesn't want to sit in jail while all of it gets hashed out, by the theoreticians. So we also got to figure out, just how to. It's like being the saying, I guess, in the military. Maybe I think it's there that it's like a private between two generals. Tina Peters just. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard that before. I think I've heard it.
Yeah, so the concept, the things that I have a problem with in the Tina Peters case is that they did not charge her for breaching the election machines. They did not charge her for making a copy of the machines. They did not charge her with making a copy or an image at all. None of that actually breached or was anything she was charged with. But the function of driving to the building, the function of walking into the building, and the function of leaving the building is what they charged her with, which shows you the disingenuous nature of the charges themselves, because it's fruit of the poisonous tree. What you're saying is that the narrative that we're going to use in order to convict Tina Peters is going to be so salacious, so flamboyant as to why she did it and what she did, and you're going to make it all about the election. And then you're going to look at the defense and say, by the way, you have no affirmative defense. You have no affirmative defense. We're going to deny all your motions. You're not allowed to talk about it. But when I sentence her, after keeping all of that information out, I'm going to use that as a basis to beat her with the stick. And then instead of making it a sentence that is run concurrently, I'm going to run it consecutively so I can put you into jail for almost a decade. That by itself shows an abuse of power and abuse of the system, and just how rotted and corrupt our judiciary in the state of Colorado is if they don't undo it. If they wait a month or 3 months to do it, I got to tell you, Jonathan, I not only have no faith in them, but I think those judges are absolutely corrupt to the core too, by allowing the process to become a part of the punishment.
Well, there's probably more of those than not in our country. But the thing is, yes, I think because the way they charged her, And remember, part of this is it could be you next time, not just you, but whoever's listening. But that's a tell. When they have to go to this strange configuration to find a state crime that's way off topic.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a tell. It's a scam.
And this was what I said before. Like, I didn't go to law school, but I think you can probably tell from the way my mind works. I'm not a stupid man. Like, I understand the fundamentals of law, and I understand. I've read enough and studied enough that I understand the semantics behind it, like how you can justify the use of laws in order to gain a conviction, right? And typically, you saw them do it with President Trump, where they turned a misdemeanor into a felony, and they did all this mental gymnastics in order for that to happen. And then the judge again kept information out and got President Trump convicted of felonies when, frankly, there was no crime to be had and there was no victim, right? So we've seen this type of gymnastics happen. The problem that I have is that the judiciary itself has created an environment where it's almost as if they have a hallway, they have an escape valve on everything, that they can justify it. And I could see that when they started asking the questions at the beginning, you could see that two of the judges were in direct, they were diabolically opposed to the third. You could see it in their facial expressions, how they were acting, how they reacted to some of the questions, because they would be asking fundamental questions, and then this guy would pipe up and say, well, what if this happened? And no. And you're going, what? Did somebody actually just wake up from a nap and then decide to say, oh, who's winning the Super Bowl?
Well, you talked about earlier about, discrediting, that's why they call Hayes a surfer.
Yeah.
It's like saying I have a neurosurgeon, but he likes to play golf on the weekend. So he's just a golfer. Just to demean these things. But yeah, so it is a very difficult thing. And like, for example, what I see is that there was an email, and it was introduced into there are all these trap doors. I was going to say I went to evening school, so it was 4 years just burning my toast, reading these precedents, like you say, that all what you just described. I had a hard time, without my head exploding. But the thing is that you didn't. It's like, yes, you've been wrong, but you didn't properly document it along the way, so we're just going to let you be screwed. But here, the email from Jenna Griswold's office, one of her staffers, it was mentioned in the trial. It wasn't in the trial, saying that, clarifying that identifying who would be at the meeting. I'm going to use Tina Peters, her official capacity. Tina Peters' facility building over Tina Peters' machines. It was not an election rule. And she is charged with disobeying an election rule of the Secretary of State.
It was a COVID rule. It was a COVID rule. Right. It was a mandate under COVID, not a mandate under the Secretary of State. But they conflated everything, and the judge let them get away with it. And I want to make this comment, right? So, because somebody said something about the fact that Peter Tickton is a brilliant attorney. Let me explain something to you about this. Peter Tickton drafted the brief. He is a brilliant attorney. He didn't have to speak. He showed up there for another reason. He showed up there and he let John Case basically answer all the questions, right? Peter Tickton listened carefully and then made sure that he had enough information going past this that he could then play ball on the next round if there is another round. So I just want to be really clear. I clarified it this morning, and I talked about it a little last night. I don't know what it would take for you to stand in front of three judges, for you to prepare your case, to prepare your argument, and then have them just interrupt you for 25 minutes. I don't know. I don't even know if I could stay focused, because they're jumping around as if they're bipolar. And a lot of that was done on purpose in order to make sure that the narrative of what John Case was creating could not get across the finish line.
Well, and people should understand, if they're really following Tina Peters as you are, is that many of the federal issues and other cases are waiting for this state court of appeals. Like the federal court on habeas corpus said, oh, we have to wait and see what the court of appeals sees. So a lot of things are waiting for what happened yesterday and for the decision. And they're all going to go, they're all going to move forward once there's a decision, unless it's I mean, the worst thing, I mean, just in terms of human terms to Tina Peters would be if it goes back down and the whole thing just gets dragged out. But it could end up being a total victory if God gives her strength to go, to go the distance. But there's a lot that comes after what happened yesterday. And I think that's part of the plan. Is that I know that there's a lot of preparation that is already thinking well beyond yesterday.
Yeah, no, I agree with that fully. All right, so let's we're going to take a commercial break because I have to take at least one commercial break. And when we come back, do I have you for a little bit more time, Jonathan?
Yeah.
I have a bunch more questions. We're going to take a quick couple-minute commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to just ask questions on, what is the reprieve that Tina gets when she gets out? So just be thinking about the fact of, does she have anything that she can have against this judiciary, against this judge, that she can press down on them if the consequences are, and what we heard were right, and they get rid of all these cases, and they dismiss them. Does she have a case that she can then go after the state court and or the Secretary of State for her grievances? So we'll be right back. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle. Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the guns. We got small guns, we got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Military, both active and retired, and first responders get up to 40% off memberships. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go ahead and bring Jonathan back on.
All right, it looks like you have some toys there.
Yeah. So we do, absolutely. So, I mean, I think the next step in this whole thing is, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but we saw the injustice against Tina Peters. We saw a lot of people talk about it, and you had some really uneducated people try to play mental gymnastics of why Tina Peters should stay in jail. Now, POTUS finally came out and said that he thought that the punishment was too harsh and that he was thinking about clemency. And after talking to Tina Peters is like, I don't want clemency. I want a full pardon. You should pardon me because I wasn't guilty of anything. I did nothing wrong. I did what I had to do to protect people inside of our state, right? So based on that, if the appellate court comes back and says, hey, listen, you had misconduct here in charging her with a felony when it was actually a misdemeanor. You had misconduct here, and the fact that you violated her constitutional rights and you basically sentenced her based upon what she said. You have an issue here, and the fact that you excluded her defense, affirmative defenses, and then you use that defense in order to justify the charges and the sentencing. Does she have civil rights violations and stuff that would breach the immunity that these judges operated from, and the Attorney General and the Secretary of State?
A lot there, yes, she does. They're very hard to make them work, which of course is ridiculous. Either it applies or it doesn't.
Yes.
The judges talk about things that are disfavored, like certain kinds of legal things are disfavored. It shouldn't be disfavored. Either it works or it doesn't. It's a ridiculous concept about whether something is unlikely. But she would, anyone with multiple charges would probably have to win on all of them. In order to sue for things, you have to have been vindicated. And then before you can file, sue for malicious prosecution or maybe selective prosecution or those things. Maybe if the thing, like what happened on January 6th when the Supreme Court threw out one of the charges, maybe something so significant you could just sue for that one big thing. But here you just rattled off things that are cross-cutting, especially the sentencing, where she'd probably have a chance to sue regardless, even if the Court of Appeals likes some of the charges. There are so many other cross-cutting problems that pollute the whole trial, especially the sentencing and her First Amendment rights, that she might. Well, I mean, it would be nice to say that yes, she has that right. I'm talking about practically, pragmatically. It shouldn't be a tough thing to do, but judges don't like to do it, which is no excuse at all. But yeah, she can do those things.
What do you think the outcome would be if she did that? What do you think do you think that there would be something that would come from that?
We talk about two things, especially where I went in George Mason: positive law versus normative law. What the way things make sense, what they should be, and the way things are. Judges just don't like to be held accountable, and so
Jonathan, there is no accountability for judges. I mean, judges literally can act with impunity, and they are the enforcers of whatever political ideology is in a position of power to actually have that enforcement.
Right. So, right. I mean, on the law, she could have a good chance. In terms of the reality of what we see, they just never like to do that. Now, technically, the malicious prosecution is on the part of the prosecutor, but it's still it's a very high showing, and I think. I mean, the thing is, I don't know why Trump, in so many areas, there seems to be things that block the things that should happen. There's like something blocking. I mean, he needs to indict, or his people need to indict Jenna Griswold.
1,000%. 1,000. She committed crimes. If it raised to the same level that Tina Peters did, and she sent out 30,000 deals and had BIOS passwords that were available, and she is the head of the company, she is responsible for it, she should be charged for those actions, especially since she lied about that, and that was the basis for why she went after Tina Peters to begin with.
Right. Well, I mean, on a showing, which I don't think is impossible, that this whole thing was to cover up a crime. I think anyone in Tina Peters' situation would have a very strong chance. I mean, if this was a sham to do something far worse, then it would be hard for her to lose. I mean, they try real hard, but on the law, it would be a strong position. And I believe that's what happened. I mean, I think everybody does.
No,
especially the people who did it. They know they did it.
Jonathan, what you followed this case? You've read all the briefings. You seem to be pretty well versed on what happened in this case. You've also faced some scrutiny. I'm kind of looking up some of the stuff related to you. They went after you to disbar you through all of the things that you did in order to help J6ers. Has there been any sort of reprieve for you in this environment? Are you actively pursuing it? Is it just turned into this like the wagon wheel of forgottenness?
Well, yeah. I mean, the biggest reason why I have not done more about that is that I just have to earn a living. It's hard to keep your head above water. And I just don't personally happen to know how to go about it. But it's something a lot of people have talked to me about, and I'm very interested in overturning it. And
well, why can't you? Isn't there everything based on a judicial process? Even though the process can be skewed and or corrupted, which I believe it is. I believe the judiciary is our biggest problem in our country. But even given that, there's typically a process of reprieve against a disbarment. So what stops you from doing it? Is it time consuming? Is it, do you have to go to a higher level? What's the?
It was time consuming. I was working on an appeal. The attorney that was going to help me wanted an ungodly amount of money that now I just have to make, figure out how I'm going to pay the bills.
Well, hold on a second. You're an attorney. Why can't you just do it yourself? I don't understand why a system can be so corrupt and so burdensome that even as an attorney, you can't represent yourself to go through the process.
Well, yes, there are, but there are areas of the law where that an attorney might know more or less about a particular area of the law. Like I say, and I mean there was an argument that of 3 of the panel, one of them was not a current judge. That they were called, so there's a whole issue that needs to be researched about when they can call someone back who's not actually serving as a judge and sit on one of these panels. And I'd like to find someone who knows more about that than I do. But so and actually I've been somewhat blessed because so many people I knew they keep me so busy with that background work and things that it just hasn't been a terrible. It's very limiting, but I've been people have been very kind to include me in a lot of things. It's like I say I wanted to retire, but they won't let me.
That's a separate problem. That's a much bigger problem.
Yeah. So, but no, it's on my list, but it's just the list is so long that I don't know. And I do worry about all the things that have to be done to keep our country surviving. But yeah, no, the thing is, Jeff Nessler, who was the prosecutor for the Oath Keepers, he admitted in a closed hearing that he was in constant communication with the Virginia State Bar attorney. He told the judge that he had been he from the Oath Keeper prosecution was talking to the Virginia people about in relation to my case out there. So that's pretty bad, I think.
Well, I'm really glad. I went back and watched all the notes and listened to what you were saying, and I thought it'd be an interesting take on where we're at with Tina Peters. So I do appreciate you on a very quick notice to jump on here and give us your commentary. I certainly do appreciate it, and I appreciate the support you've given in this, and that you're and you suffered through it, so you understand that this lawfare machine is it's unforgiving.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th outside. I mean, it could have been a lot worse for me. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
What?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you, but what do you think? Last question for you. What do you think where we're going? What do you think? I mean, we obviously haven't had any arrests yet. We have people that have come forward. I believe that you can't snatch a man out of a sovereign nation and not have consequences related to what's happening with the elections in our country. He signaled it right after taking Maduro by posting over and over again some of the election stuff that was out there. That literally happened on its heels the next day. What do you think the future holds? And if you had to have the magic 8 ball, what do you think?
Well, that's a very broad question. I mean, it's going to take all hands on deck. I mean, we could talk another time when, I've been involved in politics since 1984. My mother in Eagle Forum before it, and We've never had more people coming as reinforcements, but they need to be trained. I mean, we were a tiny minority. We're not a tiny minority anymore, but solving all these problems is hard, and people have a lot to learn and get organized about to be able to do that. I worry about whether God thinks we're worth saving, but I think some things have happened recently where it looks like God's going to help us, but it's, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I agree with you fully.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, but I do think, like, what really happened on January 6th? What was it really about? That's all being, Republicans are always terrible at public relations. The left doesn't know anything about good policy, and they don't understand humanity, but they're really good at talking about it. We have good solutions, but we're terrible at talking about it.
All right. Well, Jonathan, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for giving us your time. Thanks for, thanks for staying engaged. And anything we can do for you here, you have the ability to reach out to us. We're here. I just sent out an email asking if we had any attorneys that were. Are you still on the East Coast?
I'm in Florida.
Okay. So I just asking the question about if we had any that would know how to handle a disbarment. So we're, I'll see what I can come up with on my end as well. So, but thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
All right.
Sorry about the camera. I don't know what's going on.
That's all right. All right. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
The interesting part about all of this with Tina Peters is that we've been yelling that this is a problem. And at least yesterday, as I went back and watched it again, you could hear the judges saying that this is problematic, that a lot of what they did is problematic. And yet people were justifying this behavior. And even yesterday, the assistant no-chin AG, somebody asked me what happened to her chin, and I said, I think the devil ate it. So the deputy AG, she looked like a Q-tip without the bottom. Sorry, I'm just making fun of her because I'm making fun of her. But we have to ask the question collectively that if I just ask the question, what about the judges? Why is there no mechanism by which the enforcers of a political ideology can be punished for bad behavior? Can we change that in every state? So I want to go back to this first post that I put up today. I have, by the way, I don't use AI. I don't use AI. These guys will tell you that I will go through and I will write something out. I don't use AI to rewrite it. You'll see sometimes when I'm reading something, I get caught up on a word because I'm like, I double negative myself or I'll do something. And I don't typically, I'll go through and do a reread of it. It makes sense to me and then I'll push it out. People are like, okay, I get what you're laying down, Joe. It works out. But there is this underpinning that somehow the American people don't support what ICE is doing. And it's a bullying mentality. You can see it. They go in, they capture an ICE vehicle. I want to go back to the beginning, go back to the A block. They capture an ICE vehicle, they break into it, they steal a weapon, they vandalize the car, and CNN reports as if there's some sort of hero. And the lawlessness of that area entitles someone like Tampon Tim to get out and say, I need you to keep all your videos so that we can have future prosecutions. The only thing that he did by doing that is enrage President Trump, who, by the way, when he had a heckler, just gave him the finger. He gives zero shits. He's like, I'm done with it. I'm done with these people, these evil people thinking. I told you before, you cannot send evil back into the hole unless you're willing to force it back into the hole. You can't. But I wrote this post earlier this morning. And, when I wrote it, I kept thinking about, all right, where are we exactly? Like what part of who we are as a country is real? What's real? What's not real? So let me read this to you. I said most Coloradans stand with ICE. Most stand with President Trump. Most stand with law, order, and common sense. The truth? A tiny, noisy minority captured our state, one fraudulent election and mail-in scheme at a time. They flood social media with millions of bots to fake a majority. But pull back the curtain like the Wizard of Oz, and it's pathetic, just pathetic weaklings, sad, misguided grifters, and they're useful idiots bullying communities while pretending to be the heroes. These are the same people who screamed to shut down our lives over a virus while government acted with total impunity. They're not good people. They're pretending, and we're done debating their nonsense. Politics, as usual, is dead. Neither party has answers because both feed from the same trough. Lobbyists, special interests, and cartels that profit from our decline. We've been betrayed. The hardworking Americans who pay the bills are forced to embrace the new suck and quietly tell ourselves we don't matter. No more. Phil Weiser dismissed me as not a serious candidate. Funny that then why the endless hit pieces, the TV attack ads, and the smears? Where there's smoke like that, there's fire. Last night I sat with the real community stakeholders. People tired of the haves versus the have-nots divide. And we laid out a plan to return Colorado to its people. It's simple, but it will hurt the leeches. We end property taxes outright. No more renting your house from the state like a serf. We starve the cartels, NGOs, and frat boy fraudsters, gorging on your tax dollars. We hold judges accountable for institutional rot and ruined lives. We restore food, education, and opportunity deserts in forgotten communities. We give back your voice, your resources, and your property rights. We will listen first, then lead together. The gig is up, the grift ends. We're done being victims. The people are ready. Are you? If you're a Centennial or anybody in Colorado and you want real change, not more of the same, let's build this together. Your move. I want to go to one word that I said in there. We'll listen first, then lead together. When is the last time that a politician has walked into a community, any community, even the ones that they say that they represent, when they say, okay, I'm a conservative, I'm going to go sit down and talk to conservatives. Now, here's how it goes. And I've watched every video from Victor Marks all the way down the line. The only person that seems to get it is a guy named Scott Bottoms, who's my friend. I really appreciate the guy. He's running for governor as well in the state of Colorado. I like the guy. I like the guy a lot, right? And he was a pastor, but before that, he was in the military. And if you want to fast forward to that, he spent the last 3 years fighting these radical demons inside of the Colorado State legislature. So he brings a bunch of confidence, and he brings a bunch of experience to the table. Now, that's not my open endorsement for Scott Bottoms. That's me telling you that the only person that talked with a language that allowed for us to hear that there's a sensible solution to this was Scott. Now, the things that I talk about here, and I said all the things that I talked about, these are all sensibilities that every politician should be talking about. And I'll say this because it's my show, I can say whatever I want. When we talk about Tina Peters, we talk about the cartels and the Synagogue of Satan groupies, the Jenna Griswold and the Jared Polis and the Phil Weiser, all three of which, by the way, are faithless zealots. When we talk about Jewish zealots, when we talk about who they are and who's underneath them and who represents them, we look at what happened in the Tina Peters appeals trial. We look at what the judges have done in the Coomer trial in denying motions and allowing them to write diatribes inside of a new amended complaint and lie with impunity. Lie, not specifically say that here's what we're saying that Joe Oltmann did and this is what they did, but to write diatribes that are 20 pages long. Judges that are allowed to use sua sponte and go back and overrule 20-year judges. And the procedural issues and the fact that they ignored the rule of law. All of that that I just talked about, all of that. When we look at what the people want, the people are the ones that have been left out in the cold. See, whenever they need money, they come up with it. Whenever they come up with the idea that I need to renovate this building or I need to do this, they find a way to do it. And in the state of Colorado, when you listen to people like Victor Marks, It's always I. I went over here and did all of this for women and children and trafficking, but he couldn't build a solid relationship with his own children. And so there's some things that are diabolically opposed that I don't think pay attention to it. So they become showmen. They show up and they talk about it and they use the Lord's name in order to drive to, I believe God called me to, look, I'm gonna tell you something. Fundamentally, and if I'm talking just basic fundamentals, fundamentally, as a state, we are gone. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a Democrat stronghold or Republican stronghold. We have enough tentacles inside of this state that this perversion that we live under, where you can have pride flags in schools, doesn't matter if you're in a conservative area or a Democrat area, where you don't have to say the Pledge of Allegiance, where you can be anti-American and not build towards a patriotic environment, where you can create this environment where it's okay to cut off little boys' penises and to promote abortion and to say that we're doing it because we care about you, while putting books about pedophilia inside of schools for kids as young as kindergarten, first grade, second grade, I find to be an abomination. But it shows you that the apparatus of our state is broken. So if we don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots, it doesn't matter what I do, what Scott Bottoms does, or anyone else does. We have no chance across this country because they went state by state, stealing the sovereignty of a nation. State by state, they committed sedition. State by state, they committed treason. State by state, they had sponsored inside CIA and other intelligence assets that created an environment where they could steal your voice. Now, we get back down to the basics. Every time you speak up about something, they bully you with something else. You're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're this, you're that. Oh, you don't want people to be able to have their own sovereignty. Well, they've stolen your sovereignty. Where's your sovereignty? And I'm not just talking about Colorado. I'm talking about across the country. Go to California and tell me that it's easy to operate a business. In Colorado, it's nearly impossible. They have just strangled out an entire environment. They've raised minimum wage, put tollways everywhere, told you that it's a right to genocide your entire generation. And by the way, then get useful idiots that get paid to stand out there and say, we're pro-abortion. And by the way, you should be able to abort your baby even after it's born. We've catered to the ridiculous. We've catered to nonsense, not just in Colorado, but around the country. We ignored the signs that came to us in 2004 when they said, yeah, I was asked inside of a Chinese company to build an election system. I went and testified in front of Congress. And then all of a sudden, we decided it was a great idea the next year to create electronic voting systems and start the charade of free and fair elections. On the heels of the hung Chad on an election.
Well, I mean, as I may not remember quite so much.
This is all the things that we had to deal with. And so what I'm saying is this: are you a slave? If you pay property tax, do you own your home? The new thing here in Colorado is that the president came out and says, I don't think you should pay taxes on tips. The state of Colorado steps in and says, you don't have to pay the taxes on tips at the federal level, but we're going to suck that back and take that money from you at a state level. So who makes the rules? Who breaks the rules? And are any of the things that they've set up upon us as people in Colorado, are they designed to make us better, or are they designed to keep us more in a place where we run on the hamster wheel and they take more meat off the bone than they deserve? And if the answer to that question, any of those questions, is yes, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I could care less what side of the aisle you're on. If you can sit here and tell me with a straight face that what we face inside of our communities is favoring the people, then one of two things is true. You're dumber than a rock, or you're a betrayer. You're one of the betrayers that has betrayed the very interests you say that you represent. There's only two ways out. So I wrote all this stuff. I wrote this stuff and I said, listen, I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to say, listen, we have to start listening first. We have to walk into the community and say, okay, what do you want? And I'm not talking about talking to the blue-haired freaks that have done everything they can to pervert our communities while screaming that they actually represent you. I'm talking about the community that has to sit behind these bozos and listen to them, or be subjected to flock cameras on every corner, something we can all agree on. You shouldn't have this police state in front of us. Or we could talk about taxes and property taxes and income tax and all the, I mean, it's like tax, gas tax. And as you look down it, you don't get to keep much. Those are the things, and those are the reasons why I'm running for governor. I want to listen first. I want to know what the communities want. And then from there, I want to get back to leading together. I want to make sure that judges don't have qualified immunity. I want to make sure that goes on the ballot with paper ballots, and I want to make sure judges are held responsible for their bad behavior. I want to make sure that they get to get their own, they get to be subjected to their own punishment. In other words, if you're a corrupt judge, a citizen should have the ability to sue that judge without having to spend $100,000 to do it. We should equalize the system to make sure that it 100% does what it is designed to do. And when a judge does things like say, hey, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court because I wear this robe and you're not allowed to speak, while it is using that bully pulpit in order to shut you up to make the process the punishment, that judge should pay for it. And when a woman, like we just talked about the other day, who was raped in a transport van, brings something to the attention of the Attorney General, and they say, we'll give you $20,000. We'll give you $30,000, but we won't cut anything off your sentence, and we'll allow you to fester in this environment where that rape can occur again. Now, we'll just kick it down the road for a couple years. The lack of humanity and the lack of care for the people in this state is evident. It is the haves and the have-nots, and they treat us like slaves. It doesn't matter who you are. And they'll create a story. They'll bring the Kyle Clarks out there, and they'll bring all these guys out there. And here's the other thing. If I become governor in the state of Colorado, yes, Tina will get a pardon 100%. I personally believe that a lot of things are going to happen before then, and that's not going to be necessary, because I think somewhere along the line, President Trump is doing what is necessary in order to preserve the rights and the justice that belongs to and should belong to the people, not just Tina, but everyone. She paid the price. But here's another thing I want to do as a governor. I want to make it impossible for these cartels to exist, the lobbyist groups and the special interests. I want everything to go to a vote by the people. I want to stop the media from being able to do what they're doing. Lee Keltner, who was shot and killed, and I sent a big packet to the DOJ. I did that last week for Lee Keltner that was shot by Matthew Doloff. There is no statute of limitations for murder. He murdered Lee Keltner in cold blood. Murdered him in cold blood. I want to make sure the DOJ charges people like him. I want to make sure that people that have committed crimes, there should be some mechanism in the state of Colorado that, whether you're talking about a family court, or you're talking about a criminal court, or you're talking about a civil court, there should be some mechanism by which the law is not the weapon used where you can maneuver around accountability. There should be accountability. So if I become governor, Matthew Doloff, you're going to prison. Short of going to prison, you're going to be charged with murder, and you're going to stand trial. We're going to make sure that the people that have done crimes against people in this state, real crimes, those people are held accountable. And if they're not held accountable, guess what? We're just going to have to figure out a different way in order to run the system. The people should not be held hostage by the haves in this state. They should not be held hostage. And if you truly care, if you're one of the haves, if you're one of the people that are funding campaigns, and you look up and you're like, oh yeah, we need a Victor Marx because we need a guy that we can control. If that's the way you think, while the other side of you is over here saying, let's solve the homeless problem, you throw money at it. Let's solve this problem, let's throw money at it. Solve this problem. If you want to solve the 40% of this out here in your socialite circles and help the veterans and do all that stuff, you're not going to get any of that done by feeding an egomaniac that literally makes up stories about shooting someone when he was 7 years old, burying him in the backyard. You're not going to get there. If you want to get a real solution in the state of Colorado, you're going to have to get to the part where you make hard decisions. You're going to have to run the state like a business. You're going to have to chop out at least a quarter, if not more, of the apparatus of government inside the state of Colorado, and you're going to have to hand back the keys to the kingdom to the people of Colorado. Get rid of the tollways, get rid of property tax, reduce the administrative state and the things that we have in education, give parents a seat at the table in education, stop telling black people that it's okay to kill their babies, stop giving free money to Muslims and Somalis for health care while ignoring the single mom that needs health care. Stop taking out and stripping us of the ability for every kid in every school to go to a trade school. Stop allowing blue-haired teachers' unions to create whatever rules they want so that it favors the teacher and pays them more money while they ignore the interests of the children. Stop letting pride flags fly in the schools. It's a no politics zone. None of that exists. And get rid of this idea that we have to favor and cater to big pharma and special interests around Colorado. That's what I think. And, frankly, it's about time that politicians start talking about the people and not this, I want to make Colorado great again. Or I'm for the people. You can't be for the people until you start listening to them. That's my thought. Now, to end this, do we have any comments that I should be looking at right now? Do you want to put that up real quick? Do away with the IRS already? I agree with you. Carolyn Levitt told a leftist plant off today. Good. But find that video. I might have to move to Colorado to vote for Joe. Mod Trend, you might want to do that. Is there anything that I said that is controversial? Anything at all? Anything? We help the poorest among us. We try to, create a firm foundation of the tree. We get to a principle of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. We solve problems individually, fundamentally, at the root, which will require us to get rid of NGOs that try to sustain themselves and get to a place where we can solve the problem in each one of those areas. We doge the government, get rid of the administrative state inside the education system, make it so that activism inside the schools is non-existent. Math, science, civics, you name it, it's in there. And we get to a place where that's it. If you don't like it, we're going to reverse it. This 20% that goes to home schools or outside that's running away from the school system, that's growing every day, they get to take back control of the schools. And all of these freaks and Satan clubs and all that stuff, all that shit goes away. All of it goes away. And parents finally get to a place where the kids have a safe environment where they can learn and have opportunity at every level and in every place. You shouldn't have to, as I talked to Brenda this morning, you should have to drive 20 minutes and move your kids 20 minutes to go to a different school district because the school district you're in is so absolutely broken that the kid's lucky they learned anything. Yeah. No more mail-in ballots. Yes, I agree. There should never be a mail-in ballot. The UOCAVA system allows for precincts inside of the military establishment themselves. And if you have to send things back on a state-by-state basis in order to make sure you have representation, they should have the ability in that system, print off that ballot, have it be signed off by someone that is a precinct leader that verifies you are who you say you are. And then that should go through a sealed system that makes sure that then the military personnel could go back and verify that what they voted for was ultimately what ended up on the ballot in each of those 50 states. I wish Joe was running for governor of New York. Well, maybe someday. Maybe I'll be president. This is just a stepping off point. That's my next one. Yeah, what else we got? Smaller precincts, I agree with that. Same day hand count at the precinct level, make it bipartisan. You have two people there. Get rid of these NGOs that cater to and try to create this ability for illegals and for people to vote 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Make sure you clean the voter rolls and eliminate the U.S. Postal Service when it comes to the election system. These mechanisms are mechanisms of chaos that allow for them to steal the voice of the people. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to see less people in the elections that are voting. You want to know why? Because all of that is just fraudulent. And you're going to see all of these states turn red, turn back to being red. And I'm not telling you can't have progressive ideas, like having better healthcare programs like the one President Trump came up with. You can have all of that still. And we can start to have sensible conversations because we won't have a weaponized media that bullies the people. And you won't have these radical leftists that are getting paid by Soros-backed organizations or smurfing campaigns that put all of these people on both sides of the aisle in Congress and in elected office inside the government of Colorado. That's what happens when you have sensibility. That's what happens. You will be president. I just told my sister that today, LOL. She said, I don't think that's in the cards, but with God, everything is possible. But it has to be God that wants to do it. I don't want to do it. What I want to do is I want to be my brother's keeper. I want to serve my people, your people, you. I want you to tell me, and I'll just be strong enough to stand up. And the weak people, these pathetic people that sit behind the curtain, these cowards that use people and hand them money and say, go over there and cause harm. Go over there and kill Charlie Kirk. Take away the voice of these children. Create a vacuum. Make it chaotic. Those are the people that need to be held accountable. And I think President Trump is doing it. I think he's doing it. But I'm going to do my part too. And for the first time ever last night, my wife said something to me. She goes, there's something about you. 24 years. There's something about you. With all the things that I've gone through, there's something about you that truly when I sat in front of the people at that table that I had never met before, and they looked back at me and they said, Joe, you're just Joe. Like, you really care about these people. That's what got me involved in this in 2020. Like, I hated seeing my community. I hated seeing people suffer. So I'm just an average Joe. I'm just a guy with a dog that cares deeply about God's people. So, you do? Let's play it real quick. The Levitt video.
Everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 US citizens were detained by ICE. And Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens in this country. And the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer. And shame on people like you in the media who have a crooked view and have a biased view and pretend like you're a real honest journalist.
That is what I voted for. I voted for truth, not your truth and some slanted story where you get to create chaos inside the community. And the reason why this chaos survives, the reason why this reporter that you just saw is allowed to even have a voice is because the judiciary is so rotted and has affected people so personally that that barometer inside of that person can see is the injustice that they went through at the hands of these hacks that made the process the punishment no matter what the outcome is. This is the reason why I'm running for governor. This is because what they've done to me and what they've done to other people, what they did to Tina Peters, what they did to John Eastman, what they did to President Trump, what they did to Roger Stone, I could go down the line. And I could talk specifically about the people that were adversely affected by the media apparatus that lied with impunity and got away with it. And then the judiciary just covered it up. Just like they're doing in the case with Dominion Voting Systems, Eric Coomer, and the comments that he made, not me. And the punishment for that is that we're going to silence Joe Oltmann. Well, I got to tell you something. I'm all about it. I know what I know what the probability is of making it outside of a absolutely biased and absolutely just rotted to the core judiciary. I know what the statistics are. And so do the people in Colorado. They all know. They all know. So President Trump's going to do his job. He's going to get rid of machines and mail-in ballots. And if he has to do it through the Insurrection Act, I believe he will do it. He is not going to let 2026 turn into a repeat of 2017. He will not let it happen. And how do I know that? I don't know. I just have an immense amount of faith in God. And God has taken us this far, and he gave us back the ability to have sensibility. And these radical leftists still think that they hold the cards. I don't believe that they do. So I don't know if it's all going to work out, but I think it was going to work out. Dave Clements, Sidney Powell, John Eastman all know something about disbarment and would know who might be able to help. Yeah, thank you. Hey, thanks, Davey, for that. Appreciate that. Yeah, we got this. We got all of this. Warrior Gal, we have an assignment. We have to pray for Joe every day. Thank you. Let's play this. This is, guys, how do I describe this? This is a transgender, I'm going to pray. Practicing self-love in a bathroom at Planet Fitness. This video is wild. And frankly, this is what we have to fight against. This is why it's so important for us to stand, speak, act, and do the things that are necessary to protect ourselves in our community. This is a bad video to play. Let's play it.
A young woman was removed from a Planet Fitness location after reporting what she described as inappropriate behavior inside the women's restroom. According to the woman, she is a paying member who entered the restroom and noticed unusual shadows and movements coming from inside a closed stall. She believed the person inside was engaging in inappropriate behavior and felt uncomfortable. To protect herself, she recorded a short video as evidence and immediately notified gym staff. When staff arrived, the individual exited the stall and appeared to be a biological male. The person stated they were transgender and accused the woman of being disrespectful toward their gender identity. The woman says she expected staff to focus on the behavior she reported, but instead, employees accepted the individual's explanation. Rather than conducting a further review, staff asked the young woman to leave the gym. She says she was shocked that she was removed, despite being the one who reported the situation. The individual she reported was allowed to remain on the premises. The woman is now considering legal action against the gym, saying her safety concerns were dismissed, many people saying they may cancel their memberships if similar situations continue to be handled this way. If you were in her position, what would you do?
I'm going to tell you what I would do. I would rip that little piece of trash out of the bathroom and drag him outside and tell him never to come back. That's not what Planet Fitness did. And you would say, Joe, you called for violence. What is more violent? Victimizing women and making them feel uncomfortable? Let me pose another question for you, something that I knew nothing about. I did not know that this was the reality. Someone asked, what is your greatest fear when you walk into a situation by yourself? And the woman responded, being raped. And I didn't know if that was a real thing, so I started asking people that are women around me. When you go into a situation and you walk in somewhere, what's your biggest fear? And the answer kept coming back the same way. I'm afraid that I would be raped. Like, it's a real problem that women have. Every time that they engage in a situation and they're in a specific area, they're afraid of being raped. Like, that's a thing that women walk around thinking is, am I going to be raped? Walk through a dark alley, am I going to be raped? And walk into a club, am I going to be raped? If I walk into a building, am I going to be raped? If they're out somewhere and they don't feel like they're protected and they're by themselves, they think, am I going to be raped? And then you let men go into bathrooms and masturbate themselves and pleasure themselves and act like they're a woman. And then you get to victimize and victim shame and bully the person that's in those shoes. And here you go. You have people saying, me too. Yeah. Yeah. It is a backwards world, and I don't care about this, you victim shaming women. I don't care about some guy that wants to dress up like a woman. You're welcome to do it. But you can go, if it swings, you go in that bathroom. You can walk around with your wiener hanging out and have breasts. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. But you will not go into a women's bathroom. All of that is just absolute nonsense. It's nonsense. That you can give up the rights of all of these people in order to just cater to the rights of this person. Lord, hear our cries, deliver us from evil. I agree. Yeah. All right, so let's pray it out, shall we? We put out another fax blast. We're going to continue to do this. Justice for Tina Peters. We put it out everywhere. It's on all the socials. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, tune into more. You can tune into all of those different places. Go over there, give us a 5-star review. Like I said about of Rumble, we were very clearly able to yesterday delineate what Rumble is doing in order to silence and take away our ability to reach our followers. And they've done it pretty succinctly. They've done it over and over and over again. And we were able to prove it yesterday by going to another person that has 15,000 people that that follow him, and he had 2,000 people watching. We have people every day that can't get to the show. They make sure it's absolutely not on the first page. If you don't look for it, you can't find it. So this is just another one of those things about Rumble. They get to pick winners and losers, just like all the other social platforms. I want to say thank you to Facebook. We have a pretty large reach. We reached about 8 million people last month, and we continue to go further up on Facebook. Who would have thought that was going to happen, right? And obviously the people that engage with us on the Untamed Nation, we're thankful for those people as well. We'll be hitting Roku, and we'll be on a couple of other live channels. Pill.net, don't want to forget about you. They've been a strong supporter of us since the beginning. We're also on Brighteon and a couple of other platforms as well. So go over there, download. You're the ambassador of truth. You got to be the ones to share. So, oh, is she in there? Okay. She's in the lobby. Okay. All right, let's pray it out. Father God, thank you. Thank you for just the immense amount of warriors that we have in our communities. We're grateful for the truth. We're grateful for the fact that you've put us in this place where at a time like this, we could be born at a time like this, and we could participate in this restoration. We know, Father, that it is going to be an uphill battle, and there are so many different things, so many challenges that will be put in front of us. But we're grateful for those challenges. We're grateful for the people that you've put in our lives. We're grateful for even the trials that we have to go through. And we are so grateful, Father, that you've given us a chance for redemption. We ask you, Father, that those that are sick, we can be healed. We ask you to be with us as we take these endeavors over this really just tumultuous time over the next 6 months. We ask you, Father, that you may instill a courage inside of the men and women of this country, that we may stand up against the ridiculous, that we may not favor it, we may not give it any ear, and we may push this evil back into the hole it came from. Father, I also believe that we should love those that have been used, indoctrinated, brainwashed, by removing the mechanisms by which people have had to live their lives in this distressed environment. Help us, Father, that we may honor people, may honor our brothers and sisters while pushing towards accountability and consequences. And as evil thrives, Father, we just ask that you give us the strength, the courage, and the weapons to push that devil into the hole it came from. We ask these things humbly in Jesus' name. Amen. Lord, hear our prayers. We got a lot of good men. We got a lot of good men. We got a lot of good women in this country. I would argue we have more good women than we have good men. But there are a lot of good men. So remember, we start with the 4 things. What are they? I'll wait till somebody in comments actually says what the 4 things we are. It sits on a cross. Someone in the comments give it to me. 4 things. I say this over and over and over again. I feel like a coach. What are the 4 things? 4. I'm waiting for it. Who is Chris? Pray, stand, speak, act. Pray first, stand up, always speak the truth, and then act in that truth. And when you get done acting, you go back into the pray part so you never become the very thing that you're fighting against. God bless you. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Rising from the fight for the forgotten and the free, exposing rigged machines, Kuma's lies, Dominion's deceit, pays a grand each day, shielding truth from corrupt halls, but he won't back down, standing tall through it all. Martin, Tina Peters break the chains that bind her tight, hand count votes and one day bring the fraud to light. No more mailing scams, no machines to steal the night, restore the people's voice, make Colorado right. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true, badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away, shrink the bloated state, let the people have their say. It's our rally call, truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Help the single moms, bring back trade school strong, opportunity for youth, where the brave belong. Audit every NGO, ban the wolves that roam, reclaim our stolen land, bring the power home. Eric Kuma's fraud, Dominion's rigged design, expose the stolen votes, cross the dangerous line. No more victimhood, no chains on you and me. He's running for governor for real liberty. Smash the fraud machine, pardon heroes jailed for the have-nots. Rising truth will never fail. One warrior defies the corrupt elite. Colorado reborn, strong on our feet. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away, shrink the bloated state, let the people have the say. Governor Oltmann, it's our rally call, truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Whoa, 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 whoa. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Governor Oltmann, freedom forever, Colorado rise. Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann. Rise up untamed, in the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again. find a heel. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown, tame nation. It's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave